The wrong question, you might say, might be, am I addicted? The right question, am I free?
Matt Sinkovitz and Yeadon Smith again behind the
We're
microphone.
back at it.
Back at it, talking about every man's favorite topic.
Yes, sir.
Of and porn recovery.
Yes.
Brothers, if you're here with us, you're listening to the Porn to Purpose podcast. We're live on Instagram and live in the Facebook group. Hope you're doing well. Hope this podcast finds you well today. If you're listening to it on the download, if you're watching us live today, we're talking about the question that a lot of guys ask themselves. Now, I've asked this question of myself periodically. And the question is, am I addicted to porn if I only watch it once a week? Or whatever the cycle is. Like, I only watch porn once a month. I only watch porn when my wife is out. It's like, am I addicted to porn if I only watch it, fill in the blank, whatever that is? Right? Am I addicted to porn if I only watch it in these specific circumstances or in this specific time cycle? And, you're not watching it every day. It's one. We're going to use once a week as our timeline placeholder for this conversation.
Pretty fair. Yeah.
So if your timeline is once a month, just pretend that we're saying once a month in this conversation. So you don't watch it every day. You're not waking up, logging on to Pornhub. You're not on Pornhub every night before you go to bed. It's just like, hey, once a week, I take some time and I get this release. Am I addicted to it? Here's the truth. It's not about how often you're using. It's more about, what is it costing you? What is the cost of using once a week? Now, I know we've already gone on previous episodes. We busted myths about pornography where, like, look, porn is not about sex. We think it is because it is, pixels and images and videos of sexual acts, people, having sex, things like that. But we know porn is just the pill that we take to manage the pain in our life. So we want to have this conversation to help you answer that question, right? Like clarity, conviction. We're not talking, there's no BS in this conversation. Once a week doesn't mean you're free. It might just mean you're functional, but you're still stuck in the cycle.
That's it.
So, the wrong question is, am I addicted? Yeah. Matt, tell us more, talk through more a little bit about, what is the right question? How do we approach this? How do we know if we're addicted when we're having this conversation with ourselves?
Yeah, it's a good setup, Yeadon. Thanks for that intro. And I think the wrong question, you might say, might be, am I addicted? The right question might be, as Yeadon kind of framed up, am I free?
Yeah.
Right? Am I free? And I think it's important to begin by answering the question for yourself. Like, what is addiction? What does addiction mean? I know I can speak for myself, right? Returning to a behavior time and again, right? Even though you know it's not good for you, even though you've told yourself you want to quit, even though you've been able to identify the negative or the adverse impacts in your life, right? Yeah. Something you know is probably not good or likely not good, or you recognize it's harmful, yet you continue to return. I think that's a pretty simple way, right, to define addiction. There's this sense of powerlessness.
Ooh, it's like if you find yourself saying, you know what, this is the last time.
Yep.
If that's the story in your head that you use to talk yourself into using when you don't want to, it's like, this is the last time.
Man, I've had 1,000 last times. I'll tell you that much.
That's an indicator.
1,000 last times. So, we've done previous episodes on how do I know if there's a problem for me? Like answering that question. It's an important question. It's one that requires real self-honesty. And so we can kind of go back to to some of those questions we've offered in the past. Like maybe you've tried to quit, or maybe as Yeadon offered, you've told yourself you're going to quit 1,000 times. It's something that you have to hide in your life, right? I always like to say, is it something you have to sneak around about? Do you have to sneak into the bathroom? Do you have to hide your screen when someone walks into the room? Do you have to delete your browser history? Right? Would you be willing, or how willing would you be to hand over your browser history, your phone, to your wife, to your pastor, to your partner, to your kids right now? Right? Is it something you have to hide? That's always a good indicator. Something that maybe you feel a sense of guilt or shame around afterwards. I often like to say, like, does the behavior help you to feel more like the version of yourself that you want to be? Do you feel more bright, more alive, more activated, more energized, or do you feel kind of shut down, disconnected, right? All those shame, guilt feelings. And another one is like, is it a coping mechanism? Is it something you run to when you're experiencing hungry, angry, lonely, tired, when you're experiencing a need for relief or from stress, right? So if porn owns your attention, right? Even once a week, we wouldn't call that freedom.
Yeah. It just popped in my head. Like, if porn owns your attention, if this once a week, if you're like, okay, I just got to make it to Saturday,
Yeah.
and then I can have my release, right? I think
Or when's that time going to be?
everybody's working for the weekend, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's no way to live.
And on that, Yeadon, we just had a brother yesterday in the midweek huddle. We have a Wednesday call every week, guys, kind of midweek check-in for our community members. We had a brother who just hit his 30-day mark yesterday, so we celebrated him big time. And I asked him, I said, what are some of, it's a significant marker, like, what are you noticing? And one of the big things he said was, I've got all this extra mental bandwidth. I'm not plotting and strategizing. My brain's not like actively looking for the time, the moment. When am I going to be alone? When am I going to get to act out again? And what's that going to look like? Like, he's beginning to experience a sense of freedom in his life.
Yeah, that is huge.
Yeah.
Let's jump from there to, like, what is that once a week doing
Yeah.
to you, right?
What are some of the impacts? Yeah.
It can dull your motivation and your focus. You get this massive dopamine hit from the porn, and then you have a crash. Right? Your brain is working in the background, like brains do, plotting and scheming and planning. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to have these couple hours to myself on Saturday. That's when I'm going to use the porn, because I'm by myself, and that's where I'm going to get this relief from life. It also, right, it rewires our sexual arousal at any level, because porn today, especially, it's not like a Playboy from 1965 or 1985. We're talking plastic surgery, perfect bodies, perfect lighting, perfect angles, perfect everything. And we're training our brain that is what we respond to with sexual arousal. And y'all, normal people cannot compete. Normal people can't compete with that. That's this unrealistic, perfect, it's not even real. It's all staged and scripted with camera cuts and angles and everything. So even just once a week, we're rewiring pathways in our brain for our sexual response, and what is stimulating and what's stimulating for us sexually is not healthy. It also blocks emotional connection. For men, sex is huge for that emotional connection in a relationship. And when it's just in the void on a screen, there's no physical connection. There's no emotional connection to another person. And it can really block the emotional freedom in a relationship. I've had tough conversations with my wife. We did an episode a couple weeks ago, how to talk with your wife about porn. I knew that I was stuck in addiction. I knew it was damaging my relationship, and I couldn't quit. And I was in misery most of the time, except for the times when I'm like, hey, we got a 2-hour window. We can have some not misery this afternoon. And one of the biggest things is it chips away at our integrity and our self-respect, right? We've all read the stories. We've all been in those situations where it's like, hey, it's not a big deal. Why don't you just, go to this event? Or why don't you just, it's not, if it's not a big deal, then what's the big deal about giving it up? Right? If it's not a big
Great
deal,
question.
and it chips away at our integrity. It chips away at our own self-respect, right?
No.
If you cheat on your wife once a month, is it still cheating?
Right.
If you only lie once a week, are you really honest? If you're
Mic
only
drop.
using once a week, are you really in integrity with yourself? That's a better question to ask than am I addicted? Am I free? Am I in integrity with who I want to be?
Yeah.
So asking the wrong question, am I addicted? We got the right question is, am I free? We got what it's doing to you. What's next, Matt? What's next in this conversation? Take us to the next step.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Yeadon. That's all very good, brother. And what I would offer then, brothers, is like, what's bringing you to this conversation? Like, what prompted you to? You saw the episode title, right? Am I addicted to finally watch it once a week? Like something obviously clicked, something resonated. Maybe you saw the email come through, or maybe you saw it as you were searching through the podcast, or you saw it online somewhere on one of the various platforms. But something resonated with you about this question. Maybe you put a search, a search in Google, and that's how you found us, right? So I would ask you, brother, like, why are you asking the question? Why are you asking the question? This is where the radical self-honesty gets to come in, right? And what I would offer is, if you're asking the question, there's some part of you that already knows it's a problem, right? And maybe you're just hoping to diagnose it and dissect it enough to find out that it's a problem small enough to actually ignore.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, man. Yeah. Is it small enough that I can ignore it? That's really the question that we ask ourselves.
Right. Is it really a problem? But I'll offer you, brothers, that's why you've tuned into this episode, right? That's something about the title here, the conversation here piqued your interest, right? And so what I would offer is, it's some part of you, some part of your true self, your conscience, whatever you might call it, that's speaking to you, right? And wanting to wake you up here. And so as we kind of started off today's conversation with today, like, don't ask is it bad enough or is it too much, but ask if is in integrity with the man that you want to be or the man that you're called to be.
Yeah.
Right? Does it help you become more of the version of yourself that you want to be?
Yes.
No.
So, okay. So what do we do next?
Right.
What do you do if you know if you're asking yourself this question and you're like, well, okay, yes, this is not in integrity with who I want to be. So what? What do I do?
Right.
I've had one last time 1,000 times.
Right.
I've quit 1,001 times. And I keep coming back to this. I don't know what to do next. Couple of things. I got my notes here. I'm about to rattle some pages, make some noise. Here we go. I got some notes. One, own it. Stop minimizing it, right? Two, and I'm gonna get into these. I want to go through all of the own it, interrupt the pattern, get structure and support, and join a brotherhood. Join a brotherhood. So own it. Stop minimizing it. Be honest with yourself, right? If you're asking yourself if it's a problem, that's a clue that it is a problem. We've already talked about this a lot on this episode. Number two, interrupt the pattern. Break the cycle. This is not as easy as people think. People think breaking the cycle means just avoiding, but it goes far deeper than that. To really break a cycle, you have to understand where the cycle really starts. It doesn't start at 11:30 p.m. at night when you're awake and you're feeling the pull and everybody in the house is asleep. That is not when the cycle starts. That's where the acting out starts. That's where we psych
Yeah.
ourselves up, and we have the story like, one last time won't hurt. This is the last
Right.
time, and then no more. The cycle started earlier in the day, earlier in the week, earlier in the
Right.
month. Something happened that started creating this emotional pain, mental pain, and we don't even know it because it's so subconscious. We have
Yeah.
to do the work to really dig in and understand what was going on, what happened before I acted out, what happened before I used what was going on in my life, what need was I really trying to fill that I couldn't fill, and my brain's like, I know we can get a dopamine hit from.
Yep.
We can't white knuckle anymore. We got to get some dopamine.
Yep.
Structure and support. You need structure and support. This is, I don't like to say anything is impossible, but personal experience, conversations with men over time, you are not going to win this battle on your own.
Yep.
You need to have a framework. You need to have some structure. You need to get some tools and resources. You need to have other men supporting you when you slip, when you start to slip, to be able to reach out, have somebody grab you by the hand to keep you from slipping any further for that
Yep.
help. Which is why joining a brotherhood can be such a valuable step. Joining a brotherhood where it's safe to talk about porn. It's safe to talk about the struggles, the sobriety resets, right? Falling off the wagon with porn sobriety. If you reset your tracker, but it's like, I fell off the wagon. I reset my tracker. I'm now at day 0. It's like, okay, there's no guilt, fear, or shame. Just what was going on. Let us help you unpack this. You need a community of men that can help you walk through the work, not just, do better next time.
Yep.
Generally, this is like, I've been in Bible studies, I've been in small groups, I've had accountability partners, and it was always, hey, I watched porn this past week, and they're like, okay, do better this next week.
Surface level.
That was it. Like that wasn't the support I needed.
Right.
I needed men who weren't going to judge me, who were going to help me go deep into what was going on inside to figure out what am I trying to pain management with the.
Yeah.
So we got these 4 steps. Own it. Stop minimizing it. Interrupt the pattern. Break that cycle. Figure out where does the cycle start. But to figure that stuff out, you need support. You need structure. Because it's almost impossible to figure that stuff out on your own.
Right.
Without having sounding boards of men who are on the journey with you. They will say, yeah, I'm not sure. What was going on this past week? Well, stress at work, got in a fight with my wife. My kid wants to quit school. I'm about to get fired. Oh, well, yeah, I'd be stressed out too. What are some healthy ways? No wonder you acted out on Friday. You had all the stress of the week piling up on you with no outlet and no healthy ways to cope. It was a foregone conclusion this was going to happen.
Yep.
Let's reset. Let's recalibrate to set you up for success for next week. Once a week use, it's enough to keep you from your edge. It's enough to dull the edge of your blade so you're not effective. But if you're ready to get started, you can start today. You can start today. We have the Liberation Bootcamp with the Point to Purpose group. We have the Liberation Bootcamp. It's a 6-month program with tools, resources, support, right? These 4 things will help you stop minimizing it. We'll help you learn how to interrupt the pattern. We can help you we can give you structure, give you support. You're in a brotherhood. So you found this episode because either you subscribe to the podcast to support you on your recovery journey, or you just did a Google search like, am I addicted? And you found us. You found us because you're done playing games with your potential. You really want to live in integrity and become the man you know you can be. This isn't about porn anymore. It's about who you are becoming. Are you becoming the legendary man in your own life? Or are you just settling for a life of mediocre misery for the next however many years left? Let's stop justifying. Let's stop rationalizing. And let's start transforming.
Amen to that.
If you're ready to stop negotiating with yourself and start taking action and really build the skills to navigate recovery with success, to really create freedom in your life, hit us up. check us out at purpose.com. Get on a call with me or Matt. Let's talk about where you are, what freedom you want to create in your life, what you've tried, what you want to do next. The Liberation Bootcamp was a game changer for my life. I've seen it be a game changer for so many men. You could be next. You don't have to fight this alone. We're here. We want to support you. We want you to have the same freedom that we have found in life, to become a man of integrity. Anything else to add, Matt?
That was a good one, brother. Thank you. Thanks for the bombs. Thanks for the insights. Thanks for the mic drops. Thanks for being here today, brothers. Thanks for joining us today on another episode of the Purpose to Purpose podcast. We're honored to have you here. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. We look forward to having a conversation with you. Wherever you are in the world, peace and power, my brothers. We are noble men.
Noble men.
Bye-bye.